Once again, welcome to uLaw's Friday webinar. Thank you all for waiting patiently. Sorry about the 5-minute delay here. And for the ones who are here and have their audio turned on, please let me know if you can hear me well. I do have a couple of them letting me know yes. I hope that's the audio. And cannot hear very well because I have some cold, but let me know if I'm audible now. How is it now, Sandy? Is it better? Can you use phone audio if you're using computer audio? Phone audio has better clarity. It has better audio quality, definitely. I am on phone audio, so I am definitely at the best audio option. If you are all on computer audio, I would definitely ask you to switch to phone audio. Great. All right, so the topic for today's session is Law Office Client Management using uLaw's client portal. We're also going to talk about virtual verification using uLaw. A part of this is a CPD certified topic, which is the Law Office Client Management. And we are in the process of getting ourselves CPD verified for virtual verification also. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through an extension of today's CPD. So you might probably have to, I request all of you to probably stay back for a few more minutes, but the main topic to get your CPD today would be Law Office Client Management. And we're going to see contact intake using both portal and also forms, as well as virtual verification, which is an appendix for today's webinar. Okay, beep is when people join in, so I'm not sure how I could avoid that. I don't think I'm doing anything different from the usual. I just request you all to, give it a few minutes. Maybe it should be fine once I get started off. Or rather, once people stop joining. Okay, great. So about Law Office Client Management, now there are different ways in which one would like to do client intake at their office. Some would like to do a manual client intake. Some would like to do using, a paper pen. Some would like to use a PDF format, send it out to your client, fill it out, a fillable PDF. That's what I'm talking about, which is like a client intake form. You would use uLaw's client intake form, or do it yourself, one of your own client intake forms that gets uploaded into the program. Or you could use the client intake portal, portal and use the client intake too. So there are a few different methods in which one would like to basically intake a client. And we are going to see all of these today, starting off with one of the basic things that you would want to keep in your mind while you're intaking client, whichever method is that you're using. Definitely you want to understand if this client has a conflict of interest with you from prior parties or any consultations, etc. So the first thing you would want to do is, upon knowing the client information, is to do the conflict check. That happens absolutely after you do the client intake, but when you're doing the client intake, you might want to also parallelly start off with adding just the client's name to run a quick conflict check. But if your client is pretty tech savvy and they are pretty fast, you could send out a quick link using the client portal. Ask them to fill out the information, the personal details, the very basic stuff, and then get it into the program, and then quickly run a conflict check. So always client intake using one of these methods, step one, with some of the details, at least the basic information recorded in it, run a conflict check, ensure that all the details are intact. And once you have the conflict check done and there's no conflict, then you move on to the next step of servicing the client. So today we're looking at client intake. Starting off, I would go rather backwards, which is one of our top new features of using client intake using our portal. Now, this is a portal through uLaw where you would obviously have to have uLawPractice program. And once when you have this program, you could go on to settings to address saying you would like to use uLaw portal, uLaw's client portal, and then give a secret key, which is more like a password that will allow you to basically start off with intaking clients using the portal. So once you go into settings and you've set up your client portal with a secret key, save it over there, and then you come back into contacts. Now, when you're in contacts, we're all used to adding new client manually by clicking on add new client, as you see on the screenshot over here. Sometimes we could click on the document generation, download a client intake, and then send it out to your client using a manual form, and then come back, import the contact. That is the second one. Now, the third, and which is the newest of the options which we have, is the portal that I'm talking about. You do see the screenshot here that has a client portal button. And once you click on it, that would ask you for a client email. So you just need one important thing to kickstart with client portal is the client's email ID. Once you have the client's email ID, maybe when you're on a phone call with them or when you're on a preliminary talks with them, they send you a text message or they send you an email inquiry, wherever it is, you first need to obtain their email address. So once you've obtained their email address and you've entered it over here, and then you enter the secret key, which is what you have created under the settings. Now, this is standard. This is standard for all the clients. You don't have to change the secret key. Secret key is the same that you would be using for every single client intake that happens. Once the client email ID is entered and the secret key is entered, now you have a select drop-in option, drop-down option that will allow you to select one of the options, saying whether you want to send client only the link, or you want to send yourself and client a link, or you don't want to send an email at all from uLaw. You only want to generate a link. There are a few options, or you don't want any of these to be selected. You just want to create the link or create a QR code, which is right beside select and copy link. There's a little QR code box there. If you're looking at my screen and you're looking at the screenshot on the left-hand side top, that has a select and copy drop-down menu and a little QR code. I am definitely going to walk you all through this when I'm in uLaw, but just for a little presentation's sake, I'm giving you an introduction here. So now the link is copied, and you have an option to go into your own email and send it to them. Or the wise thing to do would be to just send out an email from uLaw by clicking on send client email and a copy to yourself too. Once that is done, client receives a link into their email box, which once they click, they would be able to see the form, the client intake form that you're seeing on the right side bottom. This is a client intake form that uLaw has come up with based on all the requirements that Law Society would need you to collect, like the personal information, address, work details, phone number. Some of them are mandatory, some of them are not mandatory. The ones with mandatory asterisk mark, obviously your client would know that they're going to enter that, and uLaw will definitely not allow them to submit if some of the important and mandatory details are not filled out. So once the client goes through this form and fills it out and submits it onto your, just submits it, you would then automatically receive an email from our program saying that, hey, you have a new client, why don't you, this is the basic information, why don't you go into uLaw and then verify rest of their information. So that's the kind of email you receive. It's a little, the best part here is that your work literally ended when you just entered the secret key. Once you entered the secret key, you just had to press on generate portal link. So it's not showing up here, but I will be showing you when I am in uLaw. So once you've generated the link, your work is done and you carry on with doing your other tasks while your client gets the link, fills out the form, submits it, and then you receive like a little email from uLaw saying that you have this client information entered into the program by the client. Then you come into the program, you click on contacts, kind of refresh or reload the browser if you already have it open so that the client's information automatically populates in the program. And then you get to see all their information. Now, this is exactly how a client intake happens through the portal. Like I said, you could generate a link, you could use the QR code, you could also copy the link, use your own template from your own email, send it out to them. So there are different ways in which you could intake a client. The important thing to note here is that you save a lot of time and it looks more professional by sending out an email directly from the program, which is more customized, which is more templatized. And also if you want to customize, you have another option of DIY your own forms. I will come to that in the later talk, but this is about using the portal. So if you are someone who would like to save time, at the same time, make it look less of paperwork, or rather zero paperwork, this is an option that you would want to opt. So settings, contacts, go to the bottom, enable uLaw portal, uLaw client portal, or rather client portal using uLaw is the right word. And then you come back. Of course, you give your secret key, save, come back into the contacts and just click on client portal, enter your client's email ID, enter the secret key, and then generate the rest of the information. It is probably one of the most easiest and the most quickest things for you to start off with the client intake process, because client intake is one of the most time consuming, considering if they have entered in all the information, if they've missed out, because when you manually go over a few things, whether they are using a paper pen or whether they're using a one of those PDF, fillable PDFs. At least fillable PDFs has a validate button that you could click on, but that also only after you receive the form and before you upload into the program. So if they don't complete the form and send it to you, there are higher chances where you would have to do back and forth. However, in terms of using the client portal, there's definitely a lot of time saved, and it's hassle-free, and there's no back and forth involved in here. You get the data, and it is all real time. That's all I would say here. And the next, that's about the client portal. Okay. And the next one, which is a little bit less, I would say, technology involved, or rather automation involved, is downloading the form and sending it to your client, asking them to fill it and send it back to you so that you can validate, like how you are seeing here. And once you have validated, it'll throw you, if there is any errors, it'll throw you a little note saying that, these are missing information in red. And then you can fill it out and upload it into uLaw to have the contact information created in the program. Now, so far, we're only talking about contact or a client intake creation. Once this is done, then you could just validate and import the contact and upload it and move on. So this is the second option. And obviously, over here, we have also come up with do it yourself, where for some reason you are not, your requirements don't match with the forms that we have under the document generation. We have a few forms that are in alignment to your practice. Mostly you will see a generic form, you will see a generic new version or an updated version, which is V2, and then you would see one in French, one for family lawyers. There are a few forms that you could take a look and use, but if this is something that doesn't suit your needs, then yes, we have an option where you can also do it yourself. You can create your own intake form and upload it into uLaw, and you can use that. In order to do that, you will have to use an Acrobat PDF to assign tags and upload it into uLaw. So those tags are nothing but they are, they're basically uLaw.client.firstname, uLaw.client.lastname. This is a separate webinar that we talk about DIY forms or code forms, etc. And probably that's coming up in a month. But just to keep it short, we do have an option where you can intake the forms, intake the client using DIY too. So in order to do that, you will have to download the uLaw generic form tags, which is under letters in a matter. And once you download, it's a one-time thing. You could just attribute each of the fields that needs those respective tags. And once you've added them, you can just upload it into the program under the matters section, under generic form, and you can download it and keep it in your desktop somewhere. So that every time you want to use that form, you can just go into the matter, upload, download, upload, download. So a lot of the times we would think it's a time consuming, but DIY is always obviously time consuming, but it is at least in accordance to your taste, in accordance to your requirement. So if there is still something that doesn't align with what we have, you still have an option to use DIY. Last but also not the least, still liked by many of them, old school method is to use our very own add new client tab, which is right under contacts. When you have somebody walking into your office using paper pen method form that you have with you, like a client intake form that you have with you, and they fill it out, you just use this add new client and add them out. So far, these are few of the client intake methods in which you would intake a client. And we have seen client intake using portal, client intake using QR code, intake form, and also do it yourself. Now, about virtual verification. Before I move on, I'm just going to quickly check chat window because I have a few. Okay, so I have a few comments. I'm definitely going to come back to them. Prospective client. Okay, I have some really nice questions, but there are too many questions to answer in one go, so I'm going to try and see if I can take one at a time. When you see prospective client, they're most likely, we don't have a prospective client field, but yes, you can, there's something called as group in uLaw, where you can add a new group called as prospective client, and you can add new client and put them under the prospective client, or add as a contact and put them under a prospective client. You don't even have to add it as a client. Add new contact, drop down prospective client, and you can create a new group according to your requirement. But in my opinion, when you prospective client is basically someone who's inquired but has not retained you yet, might retain you. So you would, let's say, intake them as a client. Don't open a matter yet. Don't open a file because you're not sure if they would be retaining you. So that's why they're prospective. So in this case, you just add them as how you would add a regular client, and do the conflict check. You would run all your virtual verification requirements, and then if they don't retain you, you move them to the ghost clients. There's something called as ghost clients default under uLaw, under contacts. You move them under ghost clients. They didn't come back to you, or they didn't, but for some reason, if you want to have something nice as, prospective clients, you can create your own tab or group. Backsoft does not read. I hope I've covered the second one too. You'd love zero paperwork. Yes, I'm also for it. Really nice comments. Thank you. I'm not going too much into it, but I hope I'm covered your questions, Sandy. Thank you for that. Even if a client doesn't retain us, I think we will still need to keep their data on file in order to perform future conflict checks. Absolutely. That's why you should have moved them to ghost clients if they didn't come back to you, or like I said, create a new group. Create a new group and call them as prospective clients too. Okay. I think I have attended to most of your questions. I'm just going to jump back into virtual verification. One of the most awaited topics by many of you. I know everyone is curious on how to use virtual verification and benefit out of using the program. So I am going to walk you all through that part. So like I said, this is only an appendix to our client intake, the contact management webinar. So this is, we are in the process of getting CPD certified for this appendix. So, but I felt this will be a good chance for you all to learn if you're a uLaw user. And if you're not, you would know at least we have this, and it would be great for you to also benefit. Overall, this is a Law Society mandate from 2024 of Jan that says whenever you intake a client online, maybe through Zoom call or whichever method you have, maybe on your website, you have a link where they approach you and you do an online intake. Any virtual client intake will require for you to verify the government ID which has been issued for the client. Okay, now this could be a driver's license, it could be a SIM validation, it could be a facial accreditation. There are different levels, there are different requirements. It totally depends on your needs. So, but these are some of the options that are available for you under virtual verification in our program. Now, for you to benefit out of this, you just have to simply, again, once you have, I think once you've enabled client portal, it would allow you to automatically enable virtual verification. There's one right below virtual verification. There's a line that says, right below client portal, there is a line for virtual verification. You would need to enable that and save it. And once you have done that, virtual verification has been enabled in the program. So whenever you intake a client through our portal, this is automatic. It will allow you to virtually verify the client. Let's say sometimes you do through Zoom and then you come in here, you don't use the client intake using portal, but you manually enter their fields, but you still can click on action and verify their identity. So virtual verification, again, you have the rate cards in here. You can go over it and initiate. Once the virtual verification has been initiated, one of the important things for you to note, make sure the client information here is valid. And once the client information is entered, verified, then you initiate the virtual verification and ensure you initiate one at a time. Wait for the facial accreditation to finish and come back, and then you initiate if you want further the driver's license or SIM validation, criminal record check, etc. So you go step by step in this case. And once you've initiated, you can then under action, you would again see something called as virtual verification status. So you can actually go back and check the status as well over there. So again, now, how do you charge these to your clients? So these are basically to be charged as disbursements to your clients. And based on the rate cards, you can charge them accordingly and as a disbursement under disbursements, and make sure the status of the matter has been completed. And you would most important thing here when you initiate this is ensuring that the email address that you've entered for the client is a valid one, especially when it comes to facial accreditation. All right. So that is about virtual verification. This is a real game changer for the ones who are really thinking about going, paperless, thinking about, more inclined towards technology use, more on saving time. I can go on with benefits, but the top priority or the top point here to note is that this is a law society mandate. So if you are intaking a client virtually or using any technology, the need for you to verify the government ID is mandated, and virtual client verification through our program that allows you to initiate the compliances and other verification services along with it, so that you would be able to complete the status before creating a matter. Please note the point. So the step comes in with client intake, conflict check, virtual verification, and then you go ahead with creating a matter. I hope I'm clear here. By then, I already have a few questions. Okay, quite a few questions. How do we do a SIN verification? You just have to initiate over there, and you can. No, it is allowed because we do have it through our provider, so you should be able to see the process being initiated once you have clicked on it. I think you should be, if you're talking about downloads and documents, there is a document generation on every tab of uLaw, contact, matter, accounts. You can click on the document generation and download all the documents respectively. Or the compliance tab also has all the documents that you would need for your compliances. How do you do criminal record check? Again, this is available right under action, under a contact, under virtual client verification. You can see, as you see on my screenshot here, with a basic criminal record or an enhanced criminal record, you just have to initiate and the process takes place. All right, so for the ones who are here today and who are not a uLaw user, sorry, we don't have a 30-day trial anymore. I'm due to update this last slide, but we have a 15-day trial. Please still use the sign up for 15-day trial from our uLaw website, uLaw.io. I won't be sharing all the links and information towards the end of the webinar. Thank you. Since we are here already, I am going to walk you all through my uLawPractice account, and that would allow you all to see how the client intake works. Okay, I know there are more questions. No, unfortunately not. These verifications are additional cost, but like I said, they're pretty nominal in comparison to what is available outside of the software. And if you look into any contact, okay, I'll just quickly walk through. Virtual verification has the rate card, and you can go through all of these. Again, if you are using one of them, you will add them back to your client as a disbursement. So you would be charging them for any expenditure that you have made towards virtual verification. It's pretty much said and understood too. So the rate card has all the information if you'd like to go through the details. Let me walk you all through whatever I've discussed so far. I am going to walk you through using uLaw platform. This is my Playground account, starting off with settings. First thing you want to make sure is that you have uLaw client portal set up. Now, the rest of it comes default. like, you want to add a new client, you can simply click on add new client and start off adding their information. This is the pay-per-pen method. Now, if you want to send them a client intake form, you could just click on document generation, go into client intake, download a client intake form, and send it to them via an email. You might have a template of your own to welcome your client. So you could certainly use one of them, attach this form, send it to them, ask them to fill it out. Once they send it back to you, you validate all the information and save it, of course, into your desktop and come back into uLaw. Click on import contact. Click on upload client intake form and upload it. I'm going to show you this before that. The third option, which is the highlight of today, is our client portal. Is to be started off by clicking on settings, contacts, go to the bottom, make sure your client portal integration is set up to uLaw portal. Would be, it's by default set to none because we don't know if you want it, but if you would like to use it, which is highly recommended to save time and all the benefits that we discussed today, please click on uLaw portal, give a secret key. You can use a password generator and do it to have a very strong key. I think it needs about 15, 16 characters, a combination of characters, alphanumeric. So make sure to enter that and then click on save. While you're doing those two line items, the next two talks about, or the last two talks about virtual verification using uLaw. Again, this is set up to none. You can choose uLaw, and then if you want facial accreditation, this is definitely recommended. So you will have a face ID verification involved here. So you could click on yes and click on save. Now, once all of this setup is done, so the last 4 line items, remember, if you would like to use the client portal and virtual verification, you would need to make sure to add, appropriately select the options and click on save. Once this preliminary step is done, you can go back into the contacts, click on client portal, enter your client's email ID, and I'm just going to pretend by adding my email over here, and then the secret key. I'm going to ask uLaw to email my client and myself a link to get started off. I am just going to pause my screen for a moment. So I'm going to walk you all through the email that I have received from uLaw. In your case, rather you would receive from our program. Okay, this is how the email looks for you all. Welcome to our firm. So my practice account is named Daniel Craig Practice. And thank you for your time. Learn more about you. Please take 15 minutes to tell us about yourself. And this is where your clients will start. This is a very similar email they would receive, of course, with all your office information. And they start here by clicking on Start Here. And then they start entering their personal information. Okay, some of them are not mandatory, so I'm sure your client would skip it. But if you need them, just send a highlight or a note saying, please enter your work information or something like that. So here's where they tell you about the meta information, whatever is the additional information that you would need to collect. So remember on the slides where we were talking about a little bit of details and recordings that needs to go, that can be done here. So your client would tell whether this is a family matter or they're reaching out to you for a traffic ticket, where it depends upon whichever is your area of practice. Okay, some of these information has been given here. Let's say this was a red light camera, say, or a speeding ticket, whichever. So all these information are provided to you, and their email address. This is very, very important because this is where it gets automatically recorded in uLaw. So when you initiate a virtual verification for facial ID, it really needs a valid email. So when you are in initial talks with them, please make sure that you communicate with your client to enter valid details in this form. So once they're done, they receive, there's a screen that shows up saying, thank you for submission, and all of those. And you, on the other hand, would receive another email from our program saying, thank you for your time. You have a new client. Let me show you that. So this is how an email comes from uLaw saying that you have a new client. Jonathan Howard has completed the registration intake process. Here is his contact information. Please go to your uLaw app and contacts and verify rest of the information and start creating the matter. It's a very basic email from us to highlight to you that client has completed the intake using the portal. So then you go back into uLaw. And then once you go back into uLaw, let's say I had my uLaw program open always. The one thing that I would like to do here is just simply click on contacts, the section. So the entire program loads and the very recent activity shows up. So the very recent activity was client intake, Jonathan Howard. I have all the information here, while I can click on edit and ensure if the client has added everything. Yes, the client's first name, last name. Did the client give me notes? Yes. How did they find out? Okay, friends, speeding ticket, driver's license to be provided. ID will be sent to you on email, or you virtually verify them. That's where the driver's license validation comes into picture. So because the client says that they found you through friends, the source of contact being friends, you would then immediately, which is right beside this tab. So everything that they have entered under the matter section or matter details goes into the notes. And then you look at the notes and quickly enter just one information here, a source of contact, friends, because this will then later on allow you to download a Law Society compliance report called source of contact. So these are some small things that you might want to know, so that way you are 100% compliant with Law Society. So everything else is, I think, on place, the address, phone number, email, everything. So then you quickly click on save. Once the client information is in there, then you click on action, and then you click on virtual client verification. Obviously, you do a conflict check in the meantime. You run the conflict check. While that happens, and you're very sure that there's no conflict, maybe you're a new firm or you know your clients by heart, but you want to still run a check. So while you run that at the background, then you can also start virtual client verification, or wait for it to give it a minute, wait for it to download. Just make sure there's no Jonathan Howard conflict with them. Okay, everything good. Then even better for you to just simply click on action. Right below that, virtual client verification, you want to do a driver's license validation or verification. So once that is done, it says search initiation successful. And then you would, whenever you want to check the status, or obviously you would be getting emails from us and the respective, all the information to be received. And then you have the virtual verification status, and it will show you what is pending and what has been approved and other things. So this is exactly how you do the virtual verification. So again, the rate, the rate card is something that you would want to keep a tab on. And let's say, for example, driver's license verification was $11. So you immediately want to charge your client for that. So you click on Matter until, let's say, for example, this came back successful. Now mine was a fake email that I gave there. For example, everything went good and the virtual verification was completed, successful. You paid $11 to us, and you are then going to go and create the matter. This was a traffic ticket. Okay, you create the matter, provincial offenses, matter description. If you want to put speed in here and take it off here, just to be more organized if it comes up on your invoices and other things. Your hourly rates, maybe if you have an assistant, hourly rates, default tax rates, etc. All your basic checks done, created, file created. Before even you start work, you did virtual verification. So the first disbursement that you would want to add into the file would be for virtual verification, or we call it as driver's license verification. You charge your client appropriately. Maybe you want to charge them, then you get charged. Okay. And then you come in here, you pay this to us. So the top portion is what you're charging the client always with the disbursement. And the bottom portion is reporting expense on your books, is what you are getting charged for. It's an expense on client's account. You're paying it to us, so you enter the details. How are you paying it? Through email transfer. You have transferred it to us. End of the month, you receive an invoice with all the details saying these many facial accreditations were done for this client, and then a driver's license for these many clients, and here's the total that you owe us. So, and then you e-transfer. That's how it works. So now, right away, you've added it as a disbursement, and your client owes you that money. Then you get started off with your work. You would probably do dockets saying, let's keep it simple today. Legal fee, flat rate. Let's say you want to charge your client. Description for all the work. Use the record button. Use our AI tools. These are all some upgrades. I know it's not part of today's webinar, but just a quick walkthrough while we are there, and click on Save. Okay. Whatever works for you. If you want to tweak it, you go and tweak it. Something wrong with my mouse. Yeah, there you go. Put this as a description. Apply. Oops. I think I clicked the wrong button. Never mind. It's going to keep it simple here. Like I said, something wrong with my mouse today. Apologize. I already have a few questions lined up in the chat window. That's really nice to see everybody interactive today. Thank you for that. I'm sorry, guys. My mouse is really not working. Apologies. So I'm just going to use my manual, but you do have an option to use the AI tools. Please explore that. Okay. And then you save the docket. When you invoice your client, you have a docket plus a disbursement. If you have a retainer in, I'm also walking you through the billing part here on how to bill for the virtual verification. Since we're going to bill, we would rather go through the other fields that would require some attention to have a completeness in invoicing. These are, I know, takes me less than a minute, but I would like to walk you through it completely. All right, so now we have a receipt for the payment. Now I'm going to raise an invoice. Let's save some time, skip review and invoice. So I'm going to invoice for both dockets and disbursement for the virtual verification done so that I can claim from my client for whatever the work is done as well as the virtual verification. So it is definitely a benefit using virtual verification while you save time and also you can charge your client accordingly. Okay, so legal fee, disbursements, driver's license validation, amount with taxes. Yeah. And then what the client owes you at the bottom with the retainer. Because if you use an eco-friendly version, all of this comes into 2 pages instead of 4 pages. So the client owes you so much. Now you go back into uLaw, just simply click on question mark, tells you matter analytics, how much you had in trust, how much was invoiced, how much the client owes you, and how much you can transfer from trust to the general, including the disbursement portion. So it's a one-stop solution for you, especially if you are someone who intakes clients a lot virtually or using any technology that will require you as per Law Society to use virtual verification, virtually rather verify their identity. So kindly we added this as an appendix to today's client portal, client management webinar, which is a CPD topic, client management, client contact management to be. I'll give you the exact details. And, it is important that, it is there in our program as part of contact management. And then you transfer the money and then you do the Form 9A and then everything is complete here for this file. You can then receive the rest of the money from the client and put it into your pocket, which is general account, and close the file and move on. As simple as that. But the key takeaways here are whenever you're using a client portal, virtual verification is automatic, which means that it is open and you can virtually verify the clients. And if you're using anything else like Zoom or any other platform to virtually intake a client, you can still come into uLaw, add them manually, and then use action and virtually verify them. Either which ways you have used one or the other method to virtually intake them. So virtual verification is still compulsory for you to complete before opening a file or a matter. I'm almost to the end of the webinar. If you have any questions, I would love to take it. And I do know, wow, there's quite a few of questions here. I am going to see where I left last time. Wow. Okay. So I think, unfortunately, no. I do not know if Legal Aid Ontario covers the cost of verification. Um, this is something you need to check with them. Unfortunately, I'm not sure. I can check at my end with my office and come back to you on email if you provide me with your email ID, or you can direct message me. Or I would say Client Success Team G3. Okay, there are some nice questions. There are also some common questions. I'll take them all one by one. Does uLaw add these charges to the monthly invoice? No, we send you a separate invoice saying these are the charges for your virtual verification. And we ask you to email transfer us for that particular month. These were the virtual verifications done. And we also give you a breakup of who were the clients and what type of virtual verification was done and what was the unit rate, what is the subtotal and total, everything. So very detailed invoice will be sent by end of the month saying, this is to be transferred by you. Because otherwise you can also give us authorized to PAN, but we don't do credit cards or we don't add it to your subscription. And the next question is the secret key the one that you share with each client so that they can enter the portal? No, it's a very good question. No, secret key is same for all the clients. You enter it once in the settings, you set it up under client portal secret key, save it, and you use the same secret key when you are typing the client's email in one line. You use the same secret key. You are doing this. You are punching in. Your client is not accessing uLaw. Your client is not entering anything here. You are entering client's email ID and you are entering the secret key. That one secret key, same one for all clients. And then you generate the portal link. The link is what is accessed by the clients later on to enter their information. They are not entering anything in uLaw. That's a very good question. Okay. The next question talks about it would be useful if the client secret key explanation field would include what characters are required for the password. Honestly, nothing. I would just say today everybody uses password generator. Go into password generator and generate a strong password and punch it in, save it, and it should be fine. Or if you want to use your own, I think I'm using most of the characters like @ exclamatory. There are if it doesn't allow you, it would not allow you to save under settings. So you have to go by the option. The easiest here would be to use a password generator. What if a client, next question, what if a client doesn't have an email address? I understand that is highly unlikely, but it does happen. Yes, it is highly unlikely. In that case, if you are still virtually intaking the client, I think you really need a client email ID because if you're doing a facial accreditation, especially, you need a client ID. I am going to check and get back to you on the driver's license validation. But as far as I know, if you're virtually intaking a client, you need their email address to, first of all, to successfully intake them using a client portal, you need to punch their email address to send them a link. That is a primary criteria. Let's say you're not using client portal to intake, but you're using some other method, you would still need an email ID to do a facial accreditation, but I'm going to check for something else. If you don't mind, viewer number 45, it's a great question. If you could direct message me your name and email, it would be great. Thank you. I have never answered so many questions in the last few webinars. This is such an interactive and lively webinar. I really encourage you all to send me out all your questions in all the webinars. All right, the next one here. Do you create your own secret key? Because looking at the settings, there is a single dot and box on my page. That's right. Okay, so that is also a great question. If you look at this single dot, it means that you have to go and we have created it. So by default, this is how it will look, guys. It will say none, and it would have a single dot. You would just have to move it to uLaw portal and then put in your own secret key over there, like how it looks on mine, if you all can see, and then click on save. That's how it works. Another question regarding criminal record check. Oh, wow, that's quite a detailed one. When we request the record, will it have, are you talking about redacted information? I'm quite not sure because I'm probably not that updated about it or not aware about it. Again, viewer number 45, I really request you to send me your name and email ID, and I would love to have my support folks come back to you and explain this in detail, because I don't think I have enough information on this question, because I'm not aware of criminal record check in this case. I'm so sorry. I won't be able to answer that question. Hey, the next one. Nice updates. Thanks for mentioning them. Thank you so much. So if we pay for verifications and the client doesn't retain us, we just write it off. Unfortunately, yes, it's an expense for you, but you would still pay us, I hope. Thank you for the webinar. Is this CPD approved? A part of this webinar is CPD approved. Like I said, the appendix for today's webinar is not as CPD approved. We are the virtual verification part. We are in the process of getting it approved for CPD. However, the contact management that we discussed earlier, yes, that part of the program is CPD approved. I shall share the link. You know what? I'm going to turn off the recording because it's quite lengthy for the ones. It's a 1 hour of professionalism CPD. Yes, I'm going to let you know our email address. Viewer number 45, support@uLawPractice.com is the email that you use to send all your queries. So please send it out over there regarding the criminal record check. 1 hour of professionalism CPD credits. I'm going to share the topic information here for all of you. I am going to stop sharing the screen for a minute. In the meantime, also send you all here the attendance link. Thank you. Please let me know if you have received it. Thank you. That was a great session with all your nice interactive questions. I'm going to be probably hanging in here for another 5 minutes. If you all have anything else, I would appreciate you to send me a chat message. And I'm also going to add in more important information, links, useful links, a free trial, refer a friend, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, a lot of updates that we keep posting with regards to new features, the Law Society mandates, all the accesses that we have for you, resources we have for you. I am sharing the link here on the chat window. Please do use the chat window and kindly copy all the links. Thank you so much for each and every one of you for taking your time on a Friday afternoon and attending the webinar with us. We are introducing a hat-trick CPD webinar for the month of March, so stay tuned. Look at our webinar page for further information. or rather check out the webinar page for further information. We should have the topics out by early next week. Thank you so much and have a wonderful weekend.